What up, y'all? Ricky! Welcome back to the next episode of Don't Do That.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. On Epic Fridays, y'all.
On 16 TV.
It is the weekend. It is finally here. Feels like a 90s kind of world right now for the weekend. So, I hope you guys are ready for it. I hope you guys got some good plans going on. Getting ready for next week and whatnot. So.
Yeah, man. Every Friday is here. Thank God. Only got to go to work for a couple hours tomorrow, and then I'm
Yes. Ditto.
But what are we starting off with tonight?
Well, first of all, smoke of the app.
Smoke of the app.
Top smoke infused guava is going to be the smoke of the app.
From
House of Dave.
Because that is the
My
spot.
That is the spot, guys. So, all right. So DMX and his ex-wife are actually in this news. Rest in peace. So, you know.
So what's going on with DMX?
Oh, let's just say that ex-wife wants to get money from his catalog and all that, money off of him and whatnot. So yeah, okay. Yep. And Michigan Supreme Court has ended mandatory life sentences for people 19 for like 19 and 20 for murder. So anybody like under the age of, but there's more details in there.
Okay.
So,
well, I have some news that might clarify some questions that a lot of us have had when it comes to the Kingpin and Marvel. Vincent D'Onofrio actually, coming from the Kingpin himself, said that Marvel can only use him in television shows. There is some type of weird rights issue going on with Sony to where Sony can use the Kingpin character in movies, but Marvel can use them in television. So that basically squashes
stupid shit.
Any dreams that we would have had of seeing, like the beginning of the Spider-Man video game, the first Spider-Man video game where he fights Kingpin. It's not happening. It's not gonna happen. He's only in the TV shows. Vincent D'Onofrio is only in the TV shows, and they can't have Spider-Man on TV unless it's animated. So it's just not gonna happen.
So who knows? They might be able to do an animated Kingpin with Spider-Man. Pretty sure there's a hole in there somewhere.
You're gonna find a way to make a hole, but lawyers make everything difficult, so I don't know.
Well, speaking of making things difficult, there you go. Here's a prime example right here of some good shit. Cotton candy. All right. The other stuff you've been coming out with has been kind of meh or just disgusting.
Well, we did like the bubble. What was it?
Yeah, the bubble gum one. Yeah, it was okay. It was okay. Yeah. It was definitely better than the
Super Pop was nasty.
Disgraceful. Okay. So.
Top story.
All right. So DMX is not in the news for anything good, but nothing that is, of course, his own fault. Again, rest in peace. But his ex-wife denied 50% stake in rapper's music catalog. Judge rules she waived rights in the rights in the divorce settlement. You guys have already agreed on everything.
That's what I was gonna say.
You guys already had everything agreed upon. So
after the fact.
April 7th, 2025 ruling is over a lawsuit that Simmons brought against the estate of her late ex-husband in 2023, which is nearly 4 or 5 years after DMX's death. Now, over the rights of her late ex-husband's copyrights, trademarks, and rights of publicity. So now, per all hip hop, the um the deal referenced intellectual property, but neither Simmons nor DMX was ratified or granted co-ownership of DMX's intellectual property. The rapper's estate still holds those rights, including his music catalog and trademarks, and it's according to District Judge David F. Everett's ruling.
Mm.
So the suit was also filed last year by his ex-wife, who was married to DMX for 16 years.
Ooh,
And
nice
claimed,
number.
yeah, that's true. Mm. And claimed she was entitled to 50% of the intellectual property rights according to a handwritten note in their divorce settlement. The
All
note
right.
said that she would receive 50% of IP rights, including but not limited to royalties. That's not exactly how it works, though. It's called a contract, which a contract overvoids anything which a handwritten note actually goes to, anyways. Now, the judge said the settlement was ambiguous and there was no proof that DMX's copyrights or trademarks had been transferred to Simmons, and clarified that the term intellectual property rights applied only to the royalties and not ownership. So now the settlement does not confer ownership. Plaintiff's interpretation of the phrase intellectual property rights to include ownership is unsupported by the document's language.
Okay.
So Judge Everett said Simmons had previously raised similar issues in the earlier litigation and signed a settlement agreement that made no mention of co-ownership. He ruled that it would be inappropriate to revisit those proceedings, particularly given that DMX, the person best positioned to contest the interpretation, is now passed away. So, the chief attorney, uh, Samuel Ferreira, okay, that was is Simmons, is his ex-wife's attorney, said he was obviously disappointed in it. They obviously disagree with the interpretation of the documents, and um, they're also looking at his legacy, making sure that that is protected. Because if you give the rights of something like that to somebody,
Yeah,
that
she can do whatever she wants.
she can do whatever she wants. But last I knew, she was also helping him with money and whatnot. They were, in the thick of it whenever they were together. She was with him when he had nothing. She was with him when he blew up. But he was an addict before he blew up. So at the same time, my feelings on some of that, everybody wants to talk about what DMX had did, oh, he was in and out of jail for this, that, and the other thing, and he was an addict, this, that, and the other thing. Well, last I knew, if the man's an addict, 98, 99% of the time, the woman is an addict herself. So is that really the case? Because you should be doing it for the kids, not for yourself.
That's some crazy stuff right there. Well, also, rappers in the news should not be news to anyone. Detroit rapper Sada Baby. I had to pause on this one because it says that he has been arrested on a felony drug warrant out of Sterling Heights.
Oh my. Mm-mm. How do you? What kind of warrant was it?
It is a felony drug warrant, and I mean, my thing is this. There's a meme. There was a meme that I saw earlier today on Facebook, and it said, "Cats is so worried, and excuse my French, oui, monsieur." He said, "Cats is so focused on being a hood nigga that they forget that the mission is to get out the hood, nigga. Once you start elevating and getting to a point where you don't have to sell work or be in that world anymore. Once you start elevating and
You need
opening
to stay the
doors,
hell out of there.
get your ass out the way.
Right.
Get your ass out the way.
Because
Why
you
are
are
you
out.
there?
You were out
Why,
of the hood. Get out of the hood. You were out of it now. You were able to
dog?
leave.
I understand that might be in, but bro, when you get that moment and he blesses you with the opportunity to separate yourself from that lifestyle, to separate yourself from that danger, to separate yourself from that police contact,
You know what?
that is when you back the fuck up and do what other cats don't have the opportunity to do.
He had a Dave.
Yeah, so Sterling Heights, he's caught up on felony drug charges. Another rapper in the news for some unfortunate bullshit.
Yeah. He had a Dave.
I don't know if he had a Dave,
He had a
but
Dave.
he was just doing too much, bro. Stay out the way. Trust and believe. If I get that moment, it's gonna be cast. I'm trying to get mine and enjoy mine. I can't
Mm-hmm.
still be hanging around y'all and risking getting
Right.
locked up right in the middle of my ascension to no. Bye. Tripping.
He had a Dave
Tripping.
out there. He had a Dave to get to.
Mm,
He had Dave, a dope fiend, to get to.
mm.
Apparently, that's how it seems to me. That seems like it seems to be the situation. Like,
Now,
I don't know.
before she gets into her story, I just want to say that there is a little movie called Sinners that is on the way to theaters, and it is blazing. All of the critics have nothing but praise to give Michael B. Jordan and to give Haley Steinfeld and to give Ryan Coogler for how this movie has been put together. So I am excited to go see it when it drops. Be on the lookout for Sinners. I just wanted to shoot that at y'all and put that in your ear.
That is true. Okay. All right. So it's a little. I can understand when it comes to. I'm both sides when it comes to this story because this situation, it hits both sides of the spectrum for different reasons. When we talk about this now, when it comes to uh the the young people and whatnot,
Mm.
somewhere somehow
Mm.
we managed to mess up somewhere, right? So we've noticed a lot of our younger generation either dead or in prison, more than what we have seen from previous generations. You know what I'm
That's a
saying?
double-edged
So
sword
it
right
is, it
there.
is, it is, it is very much
You got
so.
hard-headed young niggas that don't listen to people that been here 20, 30 years longer than them. They think they know every
But
damn thing.
now,
And then you got older people that somehow don't know how to communicate that wisdom to these younger people because they're not ready to receive it.
right, or they're trying to break generational curses.
Hmm. Hmm. The more things
But
change, the more they stay the
then you
same, young
question
blood.
why the kids are in trouble. But the Michigan Supreme Court has ended mandatory life sentencing for 19 and 20-year-olds convicted of murder.
That's good.
Okay, so as reported by AP News, the verdict was based on the ban against cruel or unusual punishment stipulated in the state's constitution. The majority opinion, penned by Justice Elizabeth Welch, highlighted the importance of considering mitigating factors of youth and potential for rehabilitation, noting that mandatory life sentences for this age group is a grossly disproportionate punishment. Now, this directly impacts hundreds of individuals who could now be eligible or revised for shorter sentences. The Michigan Supreme Court's decision extends to a 2022 precedent that was set for 18-year-olds, effectively expanding the requirement for judicial discretion to include 19 and 20-year-olds.
Mm.
So the criticism came in from prosecutors' offices, with Kalamazoo County prosecuting attorney Jeff Getting expressing his disapproval, emphasizing the impact on the victims.
Okay.
All right. Now he states that's the biggest concern in these cases. It's always has been the victims, and it's incredibly frustrating. Meanwhile, defense attorneys hailed the ruling. Now, concurrent opinions have emerged on the scope of the ruling, as a Detroit Free Press details. Justice Richard Bernstein concurred, suggesting that scientific findings on brain development might warrant to extending the ruling to individuals up to 25 years of age. On the other hand, Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan President J.D. Brooks voiced concerns about increased caseloads for prosecutors who might need to re-argue sentencing in these cases.
Mm.
But then again, that comes down to that's your job. Okay, you signed up for the possibilities of rules and laws changing. Whether or not you like the rules or laws to change, that is not up to you.
You have to adapt your approach.
Now, do I understand whatever you talk about how it impacts the victims, the family's victims, and the victims of the family and whatnot, the family of them? I can understand how it could affect them. First, you were expecting somebody to be in prison for life for taking the life of a loved one.
Exactly. That's
Which
exactly what I
then
would be.
do understand that, but then I also do understand and respect the logic behind rehabilitation. All right, but you're going to allow a rapist to get rehabilitated, though, so he can possibly go rape another person and ruin their lives as well, a continuous cycle.
Thanks.
Or a child molester who has been proven that most of the time that shit still happens reoccurring, so that they can go ahead and continue to destroy several lives in that path. Which, when you think about it, you are now having kids grow up a living nightmare for the rest of their lives. While this other person gets to still be out scot-free after only doing, 5 to 10?
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a
How
back
is that
and
any
forth
different?
for me and you with that, because I'm just sitting up here thinking about.
I mean, I understand
rehabilitation,
but this is talking. But we're also talking about. We're not talking about grown-ass adults. Okay, we're not talking about. We're talking about.
You had the presence of mind, though.
Yeah.
To go somewhere, you knew you had this gun. You know what a gun does. You know what a gun does since you were 4 years old, playing with a toy gun, going bang bang. But you know this ain't no toy gun.
Right.
Then you pointed at somebody with the safety off, pulled the trigger, and these little cats, man, they be out here. Like, I sat next to a cat a while ago. This was a while ago though, but this is a young cat, and I sat next to him in court, and he had carjacked somebody in Southfield, pulled them off their car, gunpoint, the whole deal, everything. The judge went to talk to this young man, and you know what he said? He said, "Whatever you give me, Your Honor, I'll still be a G when I get out." I wanted to scoot away from that nigga, and I had cuffs on. I wanted to let me get away from you. So, I mean, I see both sides of it. If it's killed somebody in my family and you was 15, 16 years old, you knew what the hell you was doing. So, yeah, I'm expecting you to do life.
See, the thing is, it's already
my
also...
dude or my friend ain't going to get
we're not
rehabilitated.
Talking about people that are 16, because they don't get life at that age anyways. They don't get life.
19, 20, that's even worse. Because they even
But
older.
then we also... So you also remember too, let's say you are, what is it, the east side of Detroit, right? You grow up on that side of town, right? Right. So you already have that as you're growing up. You have that kind of engraved into your Your brain, right?
Yeah.
A geographic.
We'll just agree to disagree because this would be a half-hour long. I feel the side of the
I feel
people that
both
say
sides.
you killed my people and you 19, 20 years old. You knew damn well what you was doing. Yeah, I want to see you. I don't want to see
But
you back out on the street
I
because if
also
I
want to
see you
know.
back out on the street, you gonna wish you stayed
But
in
we're
there.
also going to also put in the terms of. I want to know too. What was the situation at hand? Was this a rival gang bullshit shooting? Well, then I'm sorry. I guess they both get it.
If my people was in that life, then that's that life.
But what's the difference, though? But what's the difference? Did they both not know what they were doing? Did they not know that?
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
If my dude, if my
I
people,
understand, but
my sister, whatever, if they was in that life and they get popped,
would it not apply to that too?
that's, you know what? That's why I said we're gonna agree to disagree because this ain't gonna be no 45 minute, so we can go back and forth on devil's advocate because it'll be an hour-long show. We'll agree to disagree. Boom. The Batman 2.
Nope, that was it.
That is actually delayed because undetermined, they haven't said, and I'm not trying to pry, said that Matt Reeves, the director, is already notoriously very very
Slow.
artistic, but very slow at what he does. But new information has surfaced that he may be dealing with a medical issue. Nothing life threatening, but he may be dealing with some medical issues.
Yes, because the show must go on.
Which is, but yeah, it's been 3 years, Matt. It was 2022 when you dropped that first Batman.
First it was
you working on them,
the wife,
you working
the
on
divorce.
them, you working on them Star Wars gaps where they gave us, Star Wars, and then 4 years later they gave us Empire Strikes Back, and then 4 years later they gave us Return.
Right.
Come on now.
Well, he was going through a divorce, and then he is now going through the house shit. Because how old is he again?
I don't know.
Older than you?
Need to pass the ball to an assistant to get this moving.
Yeah, something.
Because it is supposed to be a trilogy, and you do not want to
lose traction
too long and lose traction, lose the fans' interest to where,
right.
Because I'm telling you, I'm one of those people that will go, and did you know what? This was huge for Will Smith though. I'm not one of those people that can go back and watch the sequel to a movie 30 years later. I'm looking at you, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Y'all made it work though, because that shit was fire. But I'm saying it is very hard to come back to a movie after 20 years. You know what I'm saying? That's why we sat back on the Blade movie like, wait a minute, it's been like 6 years since you announced that. Like, what's going on? It's just vampires. But Mahershala Ali was like, nah, I don't like that. Right. Nope, I don't like that script.
I understand
I gotta follow behind Wesley Snipes, man.
He had some big shoes to fill.
So
Wesley Snipes is iconic. I mean, just in general.
But at some point, you got to get your feet wet and stop being scared, man. You got to do what you do. And, like Ron Perlman, I'm going to keep it real, though. There is no other Hellboy besides Ron Perlman. I liked when Winter Soldier, not Winter Soldier, when I liked when Hobbs from Stranger Things, aka Red Guardian, I liked when he was Hellboy. It was cool and all, but he's not Ron Perlman. He's just not. So, yeah. Is that it?
That was it. I told you that was it.
Shit. Well, I'm just over talking then.
Let's see. It's your turn.
Yeah. No, I'm out of here.
All right, guys. So thanks again for coming out and seeing us for this weekend. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, get notified. We will see you next time on Don't Do That. That is Hell Monday. Pieces.